Okay, let's put 15 minutes on the timer. Let's hit start, and let's start answering some threads. Right, just in case I can't find any that I want to reply to or can have any input on, let's go through some that I've already answered. So, photographers, what do you do to get inspiration? Usually something that has absolutely nothing to do with creating content, so taking photos, making videos just like this. Normally going for a ride, going for a walk, even in the shower, just something completely different that takes me away from trying to be creative. That's where I usually find I get most of my inspiration and my thoughts come into me as to what I want to be doing. Next one. How would you handle requests from your client of not to post photos from the wedding? Would you adhere to such requests because it technically prevents you from showing your latest and possibly one of your best works? Now, this is a classic example of why you should have a contract in place, because that then negates anybody sort of saying after the fact, I don't want you to post that. Cover it in your contract, you're covered. Granted, there might be a situation where that might not be the case. For example, they don't want certain individuals being shared online. You have to understand and appreciate that. But in the main, get that little caveat into your contract, and that will negate you having that issue if in fact you've ever come across that. What camera would you recommend to someone just starting in photography? I see this question quite a lot, and it really boils down to what type of photography you're trying to get into, because depending on the genre of photography and the level that you want to take it to will really impact the decision on what camera you should be sort of buying. Once you've decided, once you've understood that aspect, my advice is and will always be, go and rent 2, 3, even 4 if you wanted to, different manufacturers, cameras, so camera bodies and their lenses. Go play with them for a weekend and feel what's most comfortable to you. I use a particular brand, the next person will use a completely different brand. We have our pros and cons for why we use the brands that we do, but ultimately the only person who will know what camera body and what lens you feel most comfortable with is you, and you can only do that by going out there and testing it. So go and hire it over the course of a weekend, just go have fun and see which you prefer to use, because each camera will feel differently when you hold it. Right, what's your go-to trick for getting natural smiles during portrait sessions? Essentially, it's engaging with your subject. Engage them in the conversation, get them to forget about the camera. It's unnatural for people to sit there with, well, maybe not so much nowadays, but certainly when I was growing up, when I was younger, to sit in front of a camera and talk to a camera, or to have a camera pointed in my face and have a photograph taken wasn't the norm. So it's about making people feel comfortable. What I've done in the past when I've taken portraits is in order to get my subject to relax, I've fired off a few shots, told them not to worry about it, had a conversation with them, just telling them that I'm just sorting out the focus, I'm just checking the lighting, make sure it's all working properly. Then fired off a load of shots, got that natural pose from them, try to make them smile, try to make them laugh, to get those natural reactions. And then at the end, I take a couple of what we call serious shots, where you will automatically find that they tense up. If they're not used to having their photograph taken, they will tense up. And then it's your role as the photographer to then coach them on how to stand and how to pose for the camera. And that in itself is a technique, because there is a right and wrong way to stand or to pose in front of the camera. Photographers, do you like to edit in Lightroom or Photoshop? I still use both. So I do primarily in Lightroom, I do sort of the minor tweaks. So if I've got a shot slightly off balance, I'll straighten it up. I'll check the exposures, the white balances and things like that. And then sort of the real finer, intricate details I'll put into Photoshop, just because, one, I still think Photoshop trumps Lightroom for that. I find I can do the more intricate, tricky elements of editing better in Photoshop, and that's partly down to the fact that I'm probably more comfortable using that than I am in Lightroom. So yeah, I use both. Again, this one, photographers and videographers. What is a good camera? It's so hard to choose. This is going back to what I've just said. So hire a few over the course of a weekend. Go out and use them and see which you prefer. People will give you their view on what they like, but you're not them, you're you, and your style of shooting may differ. The smallest of variables can have a huge impact. There you go. Look, I find myself saying that an awful lot. I get a lot of people asking questions. Why, what camera, what lens? Hire it. Only you can tell you which you feel more comfortable with. Right, so what is your preferred or the best way to send finished work to a client? Whether it's the best way, but my preferred method is to upload them to a site and send them a link, and then they can download them themselves when they want. I use a company called Smash. It's very cheap. I think it's £10 a month, but for the number of photos that I send and videos that I send to people, it's worth the cost. There is a free version, but I pay £10 a month for unlimited downloads. Each link will last 7 days, so yeah, send them a link. That's what I do. Culling is the most important part of editing. Not only do photographers shoot and edit different, they also select and curate differently. Two photographers will look at the same pool of images and make completely different selections. Culling is an art form all of its own. Absolutely, I agree. There we go. On to the next one. Amateur photographers keep repeating the same old memes about what a spud Nikon is, while professionals like Steve McCurry and Lindsay Addario shot National Geographic covers with and won Pulitzer Prize with said spud. This comes up quite a lot on social media, where you'll get people bashing other brands and other manufacturers. It goes back to what I've just said about working with the camera, the manufacturer that you're most comfortable with. Anybody, as far as I'm concerned, anybody who will go online and start bashing another brand are doing so purely for likes and comments and engagement on their post. It depends on what you want. If what you're after is a post that gets lots of traction, lots of engagement, then that's the sort of post that's going to work. But for me, that's the wrong type of engagement and the wrong type of traction that I'm personally looking to achieve. So yeah, that's just someone looking for likes and comments. Right, photographers, what got you into doing photography? Personally, for me, it was trying to find something to do in my spare time to get me out of the house and to prevent me from just kicking around, sitting there watching the telly and really just wasting my life. So yeah, that's what got me into photography. Last one before I go on to start looking for for new answers or new questions. Photographers, whenever you hear someone asking for a reasonably priced photographer, what goes through your mind? Immediately, I'm not the right fit for what they're after. So, you know, you've got to have a little bit of self-worth. You know that what your level is, you know what your ability is. It's very difficult. I think a lot of creatives find issues with this, and they really struggle to price their own work. But there is a way of finding sort of your baseline, and if anybody is coming in underneath that or asking you to discount, then I would suggest that they're probably not the clients that you're after, and they're not the right fit for you, your ability, your brand. So something to bear in mind there. Right, let's have a look at threads and see if we get some new ones. So photographers, how important is lighting equipment in your setup? Do you rely on natural light more, or is investing in lighting gear essential? This really comes down to what it is that you're shooting. So, for example, if you're a studio-based photographer, then yeah, lighting is really important. I mean, by lighting, I mean studio lighting, whether it be hot shoes or I mean, I use Elincrum. I've got 2 RDX4s that I use for all my photos, because I do a lot more stuff sort of at home now, doing more still life stuff. So, but whereas if you are, let's say, an architectural photographer or a landscape photographer, it's going to be natural light all the time. So you're not going to have to worry about any sort of lighting setup. Your setup, your light is going to be the sunlight, the daylight, and I think with either landscape or architectural photography, if that's something you're looking to get into, be prepared to get up late or to be out late, because you're going to be doing the majority of your shots, I would suggest, sunrise or sunset. Right. Is it just me, or do most photographers who are YouTubers or influencers have shit photos? That's a matter of opinion. What I like about photography is it is subjective. Your work is not going to be to the taste of everybody. The main key is if you're just doing it for yourself, that you like what you're doing, you like the results, but you're still pushing yourself to be better. That's the key. So just constantly learning, constantly developing. Whether somebody else likes it is irrelevant. It's all about you. If you're turning it into a business and you're looking to make money from your photography, same rules apply. You have to like it, but ultimately so does your client. If you like it and your client likes it, then the opinions of others, it doesn't really matter. Is that 15 minutes already? Wow, that went quick. So there we go, there's 15 minutes of threads. You can find me on Threads if you want to follow along or start a conversation. I'm always happy to engage and talk photography or videos or videography. So yeah, find me on Threads at Gary Fernon, and I may be looking to do more of this sort of thing, just answering questions on Threads in the future. If you like this sort of stuff, let me know in the comment section, and I hope to see and speak to you very soon. Just remember, as I always say, be creative, be inspired, be you.